Hey everybody, this is Tamlin Hislop from the Happiness Consultancy, bringing you the Happiness Show, which is all about passion, purpose and creating happiness in your life and in the lives of others. So I am really excited today to be welcoming advocate Fadzayi Mahere onto my show.
Thank you very much, Tam.
I'm especially excited though to have Fadzayi on the show because Fadzayi and I have known each other since we were 7 years old. And we went to junior school together, and then we reconnected only recently, a few years ago. And what really struck me with Fadzayi is she's especially passionate and really powerful with what she does, and really purposeful with her work. And every time I see her, she's got this beautiful smile on her face, which shows me that she's a happy person. So I really wanted to have her on the show just to help share her passion, purpose, and happiness with all of you. So again, welcome, Fadzayi.
Thank you so much, Tam. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So specifically, I'd like to talk about passion first of all. So you're extremely passionate about what you do, and I've seen some of your videos and some of the ways that you speak to people, and it's really you really have a strong presence that comes across. So let's hear about that journey. Let's hear about that story of how you found that passion and how you got to where you are.
So I'm very passionate about the law. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer from about 14 years old. But even prior to that, I think I've always had a strong sense of justice. And there were times when I was little where my mom would say, you have to do something because you're a girl. And my brothers didn't have to do certain things because they were boys. Or my little brother would get more than me because he was a bigger boy. And so I've had that sense of justice of, this is not fair, Mom, from a very, very long time. But a little later than that, in about Form 2, I remember I was studying history, and we got to the section on the International Court of Justice in The Hague. And as I was being taught the class on this topic, I remember it was Miss Ridley. Just from that time I knew that I'd like to be part of that sort of setup, using the law to change the world. Because the law has such an important part to play in ensuring the continuation of civilization. Just for everyone to know their place in the world and to move towards creating a more fair and just world. Whether it's starting from a person's personal divorce or a breach of contract and going to wider issues of fairness, of equality, of justice on a macro level. So I think that's the way my journey has evolved, as it were. But I knew from a very young age that I was going to be a lawyer, and it suits my personality well. I love to read, I love to talk, I'm intellectually curious, I always ask why. So I think it suited me very, very well. And I remember in about Form 4, I went to Stumbles and Row to work for 2 weeks, just to feel what it was like to be a lawyer, and I loved every minute of it. Every minute of those 2 weeks I decided this is what I wanted to do. And I remember from that young age, then I was about 16, I started investing in black suits, and every Sunday at church I wore a black suit and a white shirt because I told myself I'm a lawyer or I'm going to be a lawyer. So I've known from a very, very young age. And since then, so many people have been involved in my life who've inspired me and have made the journey easier.
Oh, amazing. Well, I love how you manifested that and created that for yourself. So absolutely. I'm all about also goal setting and visualization, manifesting. So I love how you said you went and invested in those suits and you were like, this is who I am and this is what I want. That's incredible.
Right. No, absolutely. I think it's important to look the part and be the part well before you're the part, because it just drives your mind in a particular way, and then people identify that in you. People, the minute you know about the area or the field you want to be involved in, or what profession you want to take up, what vocation you want to take up, and you learn what the skill sets are and how the people who you want to be like present. I mean, those people will be able to identify immediately that you fit into that sort of setup, even before you get there. So I remember after the second year of law school, I decided, look, this is definitely what I wanted to do. I confirmed to myself that it was definitely what I wanted to do, and so I found a law firm. Fantastic group of people at College and Blank. And I just started working there on a voluntary basis. In between lectures, I was like, you know, I'm going to start going to court now and just following my old boss around and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I learned so many of the ropes at a very, very, very early age, at least from a law perspective. And I just got into my psyche that this is what I wanted to do. I began to observe what the good lawyers were like, and I started investing in those sort of skills. And then, you know, traveled.
Yes, and done lots of traveling.
I remember I first worked, I've been very fortunate because I was exposed to international law from a very early age. So I worked for the War Crimes Tribunal for Rwanda. So immediately, straight out of law school, I was in a workplace with lawyers from all over the world.
Wow.
Lawyers from, you know...
What great exposure.
Amazing exposure. United Kingdom, South Africa, Paris, Germany, and I began to see and, you know, open up my view of the law and how lawyers practice, how they look, even in different jurisdictions. Because sometimes if you're limited, I mean, there's no opportunity for growth if you're seeing replications of the same sort of skill set. And I learned so much from them, a lot of which I borrowed, and then moved on to the International Criminal Court, same thing. Just interacting with different lawyers. I was very fortunate. I managed to accumulate a basket of mentors from all over the world who are doing really, really well in their respective spheres, and a lot of them took me on, because I guess it's easy to observe someone who's got the qualities, because the minute you know what your purpose is, and the sooner you do this, the better, the more you start to invest in those skills. And like I said, people notice, and people then say, oh, okay, this is someone who talks like a lawyer, let's get them on.
Lives and breathes the part.
Absolutely, lives and breathes the part.
Well, I love how you were able to identify at a young age something that made you feel different. So like you said, when you were in that history class, reading that bit about the law, and that you were like, this is something I'm interested in. So I think that's a really important point to mention, is that when you have that feeling or that moment, you need to pay attention to it, because that's the first thing. And then I think the second really key point there is that you're proactive about it. So at the second year of university, most students, you know, aren't really putting themselves out there. But I think the fact that you were like proactive and when you put yourself in a situation that you surrounded yourself with the right people is another key point.
Absolutely.
So, because essentially you're the sum of the people you hang around with.
Absolutely. And the minute you surround yourself with lawyers of 20 years experience, I mean, you're going to change. You're absolutely going to change your outlook on the law. By the time I was sitting in law classes, I mean, it had all come together for me, that all these classes, all this theoretical information, how does it all fit together? And I began to identify, even when I was in law school, what I needed to focus on in order to play the part I wanted to play later. So I think that self-awareness is so important. It's important to know what makes you feel good. If you hate maths, like, don't waste your time there.
Yeah.
If you're useless at languages, don't waste your time there. But if you're good at something, and if you enjoy something, so what I found in school is I loved history. Nothing to do with getting good grades, but I genuinely enjoyed it. And as a result, I excelled in it. I did manage to excel in other things, but at a push, you know. I spent hours and hours getting, you know, tediously through these maths problems, more out of discipline than love. But I, you know, even during the holidays, pick up a history book and just start reading it for interest. And same with law. I enjoy it. I so happen to make money out of it, but, you know, the reason I'll take on a pro bono case, the reason I'll just pick up a course and run with it is because I'm passionate about this. The money just happens to come by the way. And the minute you're passionate about something in that way, you do become good at it.
Because you want to invest in yourself.
Of course. And you're doing it from here as opposed to from here. The minute your heart is in something, your heart and your soul, the minute you do that, it just adds that third dimension to the quality of your work. You know, you absolutely want your client to leave the courtroom, regardless of whether they win or lose, thinking that, gosh, that's the best manner, the best way my case could possibly have been presented. You want the judges to look and say, look, we don't agree with you in the event that you lose, but gosh, that was a brilliant piece of advocacy because you've invested and you're passionate about what you're doing. And so that's very important. It's nice to see a smile on my client's face, to be able to change someone's life using the tool of the law. It's great. It is a good feeling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's such an inspiring journey that you've taken yourself through, and lots of wisdom and nuggets and lessons along the way. Wow.
Absolutely. I think I've been extremely fortunate. So many people have taken my hand, and I've watched so many lawyers, both locally and internationally, and learned so much just by observing them, which is why I said earlier, I just put myself in that law firm in second year, because you learn so much through observation of what you should and you shouldn't do, what areas of the law you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. So I decided, because law is also extremely broad, that I was not going to be stuck in a corner office doing conveyancing all my life. That just didn't speak to me. I decided, look, I want to be in a courtroom, and I want to do it well. And the minute you do that, you start investing in yourself. I started taking courses, flying myself out to London, just so that I could be really, really good.
Be playing that part.
Absolutely, absolutely. And be good at it. It's important to want to excel, and the room for improvement can never be full. So every day is a continuous journey. And also I think what's important is to, when you do encounter failure, to just keep going.
Yes. For me, failure equals growth.
Absolutely.
Because it's such a great stepping stone. And actually, just what you mentioned there with you want to do well in what you do is, Brian Tracy says that if you don't want to be in the top 10% of your field, you're wasting your life.
Absolutely.
So that is, I think, quite an eye-opener for a lot of people.
Absolutely, because what it does is it keeps your passion alive. If you always are in a place or in a space where you tell yourself, I can be better, I can do more, you continuously grow your passion. What kills passion a lot of the time is that feeling of complacency that, look, oh, I'm a decent lawyer, I'll just relax now, I don't need to work as hard, I don't need to prepare as thoroughly. I think that can kill your passion and it becomes extremely routine. But if you constantly have something that's driving you and you want to become better and you want to, excel and, grow your practice and win more cases, if that's what's important to you, then, you really grow. And I think what kills passion and purpose sometimes is when you encounter failure. So I know it makes me sad when I lose a case. Like
and that's a natural form of life, right?
Absolutely. I'm always put my gown on my shoulder and grab my bag and I'm, stomping off back to chambers. But it's important to know that if you have a bad day in court, it doesn't mean you live a bad life.
No,
or you're a bad lawyer. It's just a bad moment.
Pick yourself up.
You absolutely have to
take the learning.
Of course. And just decide that, look, it's not the end of the world. I've learned how to deal with this sort of problem now. I'm wiser for it, and you just move on. Just move on. Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, amazing on the passion side.
Right.
So, what would you say gets you up in the morning? What drives you? What's your purpose for life?
My purpose in life is to do my bit to contribute towards bringing justice to the world. So whether it's helping, a woman who's fighting a custody case, or a big multinational company recoup money that it's invested, or whether it's, fighting for women on death row, whatever it is, to contribute towards bringing justice to people around me. And sometimes it's on that micro level, but sometimes, like I said, it's on the macro level. Equality. Whether it's equality from a gender perspective, from a racial perspective, from a wealth perspective, the gap between the rich and the poor is huge. So whatever the law can do, or however the law can serve as a tool to improve fairness and to bring about justice for people, is something I want to be involved in. So sometimes that involves going to court to fight a case.
Yeah.
Sometimes it involves teaching students so that they can also play their part to do that. Sometimes it involves being involved in debates around legal issues. Whatever I can do using the law to bring about justice, fairness, that's certainly what I view as my purpose.
Oh, incredible. And I think it's so nice to hear the certainty in that you know what it is that you're doing in your life. and that you're passionate about it at the same time. So a lot of people ask me this question, like, I don't know what my purpose is, and I often say, well, how much time have you spent figuring it out? So what is one tip that you might have for someone who's trying to figure out what their purpose is and what their place is in the world?
So I think that your purpose always flows from your passion. They're never disconnected. So obviously I'm extremely passionate about, you know, the law. I love to read, I love to solve problems. So obviously, naturally it would follow that my purpose would be to use that passion to change people's lives. So I always find it important when you're looking for your purpose to look outward as opposed to inward, because you just feel a greater sense of fulfillment by helping other people as opposed to from benefiting yourself, and you find that you become better for helping other people. So however you can use your passion to help other people equals your purpose.
Well said. Brilliant. You should be a coach.
Right.
And Fadzayi, you're also such a happy person. Okay, so
most days.
besides when you're in court,
right, of course.
banging your fist down.
Yeah.
But I feel like, despite, like you said, despite those failures, despite those down days, you are resilient in picking yourself up and changing your mindset and getting back on track. And I think that is also a key thing with happiness. It's how you get back on the horse. So you really strike me as a happy person. So how do you do that? For those people watching who are not happy at the moment, how was your journey to create and find happiness?
So I started to observe, because I think the younger you are, the happier you are. The older you get, the more jaded you get with life, and the more you think there are things to complain about and worry about. What I started doing quite early on is identifying what makes me upset, identifying what brings me down, and I do whatever I can to cut that out. And if I can't cut it out, so going to court and losing, for example, makes me very sad, but I can't cut that out. But I now know that it makes me sad. So I have created a mechanism to deal with that, so that my sadness, as it were, doesn't last, or is very short-lived, and I look at the brighter side of that. So I'm very self-aware. Self-awareness is important, knowing the things that make me happy. I started exercising, it makes me feel good. I just keep on doing more of that. You know, I love flowers, so I just surround myself with flowers in my office, in my garden. Flowers everywhere. I love perfume. So every time I travel, every time I've got the opportunity to invest in, of course. If I wake up feeling a bit down, I pick out my best perfume. My best Tom Ford is what I wear that day. My best shoes, and I always ensure that the way I present does not mirror how I'm feeling. So I always make sure that regardless of how I feel, I always present very well. I always put on nice makeup. So I think it's important to look good, because when you look good, you feel good.
Well, then, it's the other way around. So often people will be like, I'm not feeling good today, so I won't dress.
Of course.
But if you
absolutely do that, by the time you're walking out the door, you feel like you look good, you've exercised, you're like, life's amazing. Yeah, today's a good day. Never mind what's going on. Absolutely. And whatever it is that makes you happy. You know, there are people's stories that just make me so happy. Whenever I pick up a Hillary Clinton book and I see, you know, all the attacks that she received, I'm just like, oh, this little loss, this minor loss is so minor. Look where she is now.
Fuel to you.
Of course. And having inspiration around you is so important. It's so important, because you feel happy, you feel like that passion we spoke of is something that's worth pursuing, worth growing. You know, my purpose is a worthwhile one, and that makes you happy. Because once you're living the life that was intended for you, once you're living out your purpose, you feel happy, the people around you are gratified, and then you perpetuate or continue that happiness. And also the words you speak. So important.
They're a reflection of the thoughts you think.
Of course, and the thoughts you think. I mean, I always say, I remember doing a TED talk on, you know, the battle of the mind. A lot of the battles we fight are won or lost a long time before we go into them. So fixing your mind, looking, I mean, someone could go into a beautiful garden, Tammy, and just see dead leaves and thorns. But I would go in and say, oh my gosh, I love that English lavender bush. It's amazing. I love the way you've mixed those colors together. Your pool is so green. So it's telling yourself to identify the positive and to not expend too much time on the negative. That's not to ignore it.
No.
If you are going to look at something negative, rather approach it from a place of how can I improve it? Or how can I remove it? What can I do differently? How can I fix this problem? And if you know that it's something that really gets you down, just keep away from it. I'm terrified of snakes. So why would I ever spend time in a snake park or on the internet looking at pictures of snakes? I just cut that out completely.
Whereas
it does nothing
people
for me.
often do
Of course.
things that...
Of course. People don't like things, or people hate a particular color. That's the color in which their home is painted.
Yeah.
Or that's the color of their furniture. Remove it.
Yes.
Rather, bring in the place of those things that make you sad, things that make you happy. And the people around me. I mean, I'm not going to spend time with people who are negative all the time. I try my best. Obviously, I first try to help them to see the positive. But if they can't see the positive out of life, I'm not going to,
You can't change people.
Of course, you can't change people. But if you surround yourself with happy people, that sort of goes on. If you also help people out of a bad situation, and do what you can. If you know they like wine, if you know they like flowers, if you know they like chocolate, adding that bit of happiness, help them. That also makes you feel good. So self-awareness, knowing what makes you happy, surrounding yourself with that, surrounding for people that reinforce your happiness, and making sure your mindset is in general a happy one. Surely, will lead
Life's
you
gotta be
win.
good
Of
then,
course.
right?
I mean, I said to my friends when we were on holiday last week that you only live once, but if you do it correctly, once is all you need. So why not, go hard at work? Invest in things that make you happy, things that make your life brighter, happier, better. And, by the time you're 30, 40, 50, you'll be like, gosh, I'm having a good life.
So you won't get to that point when you get older where you said you get jaded.
No.
It's like that's then the peak time of your life.
And every single day. So your happiness, people look at their lives and they're like, oh, my life is so droopy, but every day contributes to your life. So if you focus on being happy today and looking for the things that made you happy, the people, you take note of the things that made you feel a bit down. Take note of the music that makes you up. Take note of, sometimes you spend 30 minutes talking to someone and you're like, gosh, I feel so depressed.
Don't do that, yeah.
Of course. Or don't read a book that makes you upset. Some people will read Lolita and be like, gosh, this is just so dreary. Don't read it. It doesn't matter if it's a bestseller. Rather read something that will inspire you, make you more positive, and it goes with the media as well.
Oh yes, I'm a big one for that.
Of course, if it makes you sad and depressed, no.
But often they don't know, they just watch it because it's a habit.
Of course.
So I'm a big one for, cut out
Filter
as
it
much
out,
as possible.
And that doesn't mean don't be conscious of what's going on in Syria. But if it makes you upset and depressed for a month, don't do it.
Yeah.
But if like me, you're interested in international affairs, international humanitarian law, look at that conflict in Syria and think about how the law, for example, internationally could be changed and can help that. But if you don't have the sort of mind around that issue that could make it more positive, don't waste time on it. Don't. Because it will certainly bring you down, and at the end of the day, everyone's got a battle to fight. You have to fight your own and ensure that, because every force in life is trying to pull you towards being sad and negative. You have to make an active decision to try and be positive, notwithstanding all those forces and everything else that's going on. It's being sad is the easy road. Being happy is it takes work.
I like what you say there with fight your own battle. Like be proactive about happiness
in your situation.
Yeah. And I also really like what Fadzayi said there. Was I'm always telling people to identify what makes you happy, but a key point that you said is identify what's not working or identify what doesn't make you happy and to avoid that. Because often I'm always like, focus on this side, but actually it helps to identify that and cut it out.
Cut it out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what happens, yes, you're focusing on the positive, but in the background is the humming of that bad thing. Just get rid of it. Yeah. You don't need it. You absolutely don't. And if you can't marshal your energies towards changing it, then leave it alone. So whatever it is, big or small, just try and make yourself happy.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Really, really inspiring bit on happiness there. Thank
Yeah.
you. So Fadzayi, it's been so interesting talking to you and specifically hearing how you found your passion and how you really put yourself in a position to grow that passion, and then how your purpose is then to change the world through using justice, and then how you are so proactive about happiness and that you identify what makes you happy and unhappy and do more of the good and not the bad.
Absolutely.
It was really, really profound and interesting talking to you. Thank you so, so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to all of my listeners for watching the Happiness Show today. I hope you've gained some valuable insight into passion, purpose and happiness. And I'd like you all to write one action that you're going to do today to create more happiness, passion and purpose in your life. And thanks for watching, guys. Please comment on the video below and let us know what you think. Have a great day. Bye.